right, everyone. Welcome to another session on Thursday. This is purely for real estate agents, and we're trying to add value to your daily operation and make you as successful as you want. So, today I invited my coach. Sami is my personal coach, and he's teaching me and showing me and mentoring me throughout the real estate techniques and just name it. So he has a lot of value to give you when it comes to open house as well. We had a short conversation a few days ago, and he said more than happy to join us and give us some tips and hints what to do with open houses to really squeeze the juice out of it. So without further ado, Sami, can you present yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, and then take it from there.
Absolutely. So first of all, Ashton, I'm so happy that you gave me this opportunity to come add value around open houses. I think this is a topic that we don't often talk about. We get too cluttered with, online lead gen, this, that, cold call. Open houses are a very high leverage activity, as we were talking about previously. So extremely humble to be here and provide as much value as I can. A little bit about me. So I'm a real estate agent and a team leader with eXp Realty. We currently operate out of Vancouver, Calgary, and now finally Ontario as well, particularly the Greater Toronto area. I've been in real estate close to 3.5 years now. Started with a team let me rephrase that. I started real estate as a team leader because I came from a e-commerce / business management background. So, I truly looked at it as an opportunity to build the business from the ground up, and I didn't intend on really going after net profit for the first year. I understood that I had to kind of give a little bit to be able to scale upwards, and so that's exactly what we did. Fortunately, it was a time where the market was just hot, right? Like everything was selling. You touch something and you put it up on Thursday or, Wednesday. By Friday, you have offers. You're lucky if you make it to the open house over the weekend. That's how quick it was, right? And then rude awakening, obviously, this year, because now you really need to indulge yourself in the craft of a salesperson and that of a real estate licensee, right? So yeah, the first few years were very successful. I ended up opening up my own brokerage as a franchisee with C21. So we opened up Century 21 Origins in North Vancouver, which was a short-lived journey. About 14 months is what we did with that, and then we ended up being bought out by a neighboring franchisee in downtown Vancouver. And then from there, I transitioned into eXp and also started my coaching business because obviously my objective really switched towards production. I figured, I thought that the next step was going to be brokerage ownership, but realistically with the overhead and the type of thin margins, it wasn't for me. And production ended up being the number one priority. And so eXp ended up being a great opportunity because of satellite team options for me, where I can, operate from multiple provinces without necessarily needing a license. So that really grew our trajectory on being able to expand nationwide. That's something that I always wanted to do. And at the same time, because, I was creating results for my team members, I figured, okay, well, there's a business here from a coaching, consulting, lead generation standpoint. And so I started scaleyourresults.com, Coaching Incorporated, about 1.5 years ago. And since then, we've helped about close to about 150 agents all across the world, mostly in Canada, mostly in the Greater Toronto area, believe it or not. And so it's been an action-packed past few years for me, and this has been the most rewarding career, not because of the money or any of that. It's just about the people that have come into my life as a result. Like, Ashton, what are the odds, right? Meeting on one of these ads converting into you becoming one of my clients. But then this is how I formed most of my relationships over the past few years. Is just I've been fortunate enough to surround myself with amazing individuals like yourself. And so any opportunity I get to give value, I put my hand up as much as I can, because that's what's been done for me by you, Ashton, by other colleagues. So, it's yeah, it's an honor to be here, man.
Open house here. Reason here is every version, of course, but is there anything we can do with open house to make it really a super power lead?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So first of all, I wanted to start off with why open houses are important and why they can really be one of the best sources of growing your business. You see, with open houses, what we have is the supply right in front of us, right? And the beauty is the demand also happens to be in the same place if you play the cards properly. So when you have the supply and you have the demand and you happen to be the facilitator of both of those two parties, you put them together, and you get a deal, right? So that's why fundamentally I think open houses for me, just like you, Ashton, and for your wife, has been a big source of my business ever since I started in the career. I remember doing open houses, 2 of them in a single day, 4 altogether on a weekends and weekdays, just because it was such good source of leads, right? So that's why number 1, I think open houses are extremely important. Number 2 is, well, how do you know what open house is going to bring you business, right? So that is something that a lot of people forgets to ask themselves the question about. Like, what open house should you be doing? Now, if you have listings, obviously you got to do your open houses. But what happens when you don't have listings? And then how do you host someone else's open house? And then how do you pick that open house in the first place? Right? Because open house for the sake of doing open house without a strategy, without a target and goal in mind, is redundant. There's no point of doing it. A lot of agents I see, they pick these glamorous properties, right? They pick these $3 million, $4 million, $5 million homes, and they call up the realtor and they go, hey, I would love to host this open house for you. I mean, that's great, fantastic. But see, the thing is, you need to look after a key metric called velocity. Okay, so what does velocity mean? And it means that you need to pick a category, a price points, and the type of product that is moving in the current market. So you can actually make sure that the open house that you're investing time on, it ends up being a high leverage activity. Okay, so that's typically my first advice for a lot of agents that are looking to use open houses as their main source of generating leads. Try your best to not pick the glamour and the luxury. Try to go after stuff that's moving, right? So whatever that means for your market. I mean, in the Vancouver market, stuff that's moving right now is townhomes. They're selling like hotcakes, right? They're roughly around the 850 to 950 mark right now, and the stuff's moving. And when the stuff's moving, there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of traffic, and when there's a lot of traffic, there's more probability of you converting that lead. Okay, so you need to know your metrics. You need to know your market. You need to know what the median home price is, and you need to figure out what's selling, what's not selling, what's the sales to active sales ratio. All this information is typically provided to you by your board, by your brokerage. You need to be strategic in picking the open house. Okay, so that was my number 2 point. Now, depending on what type of open house you end up doing, there's a different strategy when it's your own listing versus when you're hosting someone else's open house. Okay, so here's what we do for our business and for our listings when we're trying to put it up on the market and create a massive buzz. Typically, this is our open house strategies. First things first, what we do is before the property even gets listed, we like to do an agent's open house. And an agent's open house is typically, our sphere of agents from, the brokerage, from other brokerages, the deals with other agents that we've done, our colleagues. We invite all these people to that open house. Okay. So typically we like to do that on a weekday, maybe between noon and 2. And the benefit of that is you're bringing product and you're kind of putting the agent in the actual environment, in the atmosphere, in the property. So they can feel the product, right? A lot of times, like there's one thing that's a post that you may post on Facebook or Instagram saying I have a new listing versus actually inviting the agent, walking the agent around, talking to them about why this home is an excellent pick for XYZ type of person, right? And that's like your first step of marketing in terms of open houses. It's not even to go after the regular public, but to go after agents. Now, the thing you need to know about agents is we're all very busy, right? So you have to make sure that you entice them appropriately, right? You have to make sure that the campaign for agents open houses is started well in advance, at least a week in advance, and that you're calling people, right? If you put up a poll or a post and RSVP and a bunch of agents say yes to it, doesn't mean that those agents are actually going to show up. You have to get commitment through the means of a phone call because people are busy. You have to make sure that you send them a calendar invite so it's in their calendar so they actually show up for that agent's open. So that's one of the things you need to do. The second thing, me and Ashton were talking about this before we started recording this, is weekday open houses. Okay, weekday open houses are critical because not all traffic, not all public that is looking to purchase a home is available to shop for properties over the weekend. Okay, so that's why it's critical that you look at key timeframes. For us, what works really well is late afternoons, early evenings. We find that this is typically when, people are getting off work or picking up kids or, running errands. And if they see an open house with appropriate marketing and it's in the neighborhood and they're just curious, oftentimes you don't even need to have an actual buyer come to the open house. That person who might just be a neighbor might have a friend or family member that's looking to purchase that type of product or get into the neighborhood, right? So it's important to try and hit from all angles when it comes to time. The other thing that we do is we also do door hangers. Okay, so what we do is we knock all doors before the actual weekend open house and we invite the neighbors to a neighbor-only open house. Okay, so the neighbor-only open house, we like to do it 1 hour prior to the public open house, right? So the public open house is 2 to 4, then we'll do a neighbors-only open house from 1 to 2. And the reason why we like to do that is because nosy neighbors are probably the best thing you can do for a listing because they start talking, things start happening, then they might talk to Susan down the street and Susan might have someone who's the ideal candidate for that property, right? The word starts spreading within the community. So that's why it's so important to invite the neighbors. Some of the sellers are going to give you pushback on that, right? And you have to make them understand, hey, listen, this is now not your home. Technically, you're about to sell it. So that's why we're depersonalizing. That's why we're decluttering. You have to invite people into your home. There is no more secrecy, okay? We got to be able to sell this property. We got to get as many people through the door as possible. So neighbors only open house is very important, especially on the first weekend of open houses. We typically like to put door hangers inviting. So we knock, knock, knock. Hey, welcome to the a new listing in your neighborhood. Would love to have you come over, maybe enjoy some snacks, coffee, this, that. And if we're not able to reach them, we put a door hanger, right? We put a door hanger that says, your neighbor is selling, come check out this property, and with a little bit of property details and such. The next thing that we like to do is local businesses. We like to hit up local businesses within the area and spread flyers. Okay, so also invite the business owners, the staff to the open house. If they're local small businesses, typically they have either a bulletin board or somewhere you can kind of advertise if you connect with the owner or manager there. So we like to hand those out. We also like to do direct mail within a 5-kilometer radius prior to the open house. Okay, so just listed and open house are the two sets of direct mail that we send out. Depending on the price points, we will do paid advertisement for both the listing and the open house. All right, so we'll throw in, like, dependent on the property. Like the last one that we sold that was quite big in Vancouver was around what was it? It was about 2.4. And we ended up doing paid ads that actually ended up working because the traffic got up significantly compared to the weekend that we didn't run paid ads. So sponsoring posts, running paid ads might be something that you might want to consider depending on the size of the listing and how much you're charging the client, obviously. The other thing that you might want to consider is on organic channels of being able to promote the open house. Okay, so some of the things and platforms you might want to consider that are right in front of you, and people don't often post their open houses or listings on these platforms, which is a shame, because those of you that do, you know exactly how well it works. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and Kijiji. Every single one of my listings, every single one of my open houses go on these platforms every single time. Why? Well, to give you perspective, Facebook Marketplace has 1/3 of the world's population, world's entire population of 8 billion people. 1/3 is on Facebook Marketplace. Okay, so you got to be able to leverage that tool to be able to promote your listings and your open houses. Some other things that we do is, we've done for listings that are, homes that are kind of tucked away in a way where it's not, it's not on a busy street. They're kind of tucked far in, and, no matter how many signs we have up, it might be a challenge to get to those homes. We've done creative things, like we did one of those, I don't know what you call them, those the crazy guys, like they wave with the air. Man, I'm forgetting the name. I think some of you might understand what I'm trying to say. But anyway, we've done things like that. We've done a creative type of open house signs, like we've done tent type of signs in certain cases for community. Yeah, the blow up. Yeah, Michelle, thank you. Appreciate it. We've also done for open houses and for listings that are residential, single family, detached, semis, whatever the case might be in suburban areas. We like to have at least 20 to sometimes even 30 open house signs giving clear direction to where the property is located. So we start all the way from a busy intersection or junction, and we take it all the way down to the actual open house. And for properties that are a little bit more expensive, they're in lucrative areas, they're, fully suburban, like there's not a whole lot of busy streets. You have to do that because otherwise there's no way to get external traffic to come to the open house. There's literally no other way. Signs are your best friends when it comes to open houses. Okay, so invest in the signs. They're what? The $100 a sign, whatever the charges in your community, the $2,000 to $3,000 that you end up spending on it, you'll keep those signs for at least 5 years. They're very resilient before you have to replace them. I remember there was a time when everyone on my team used to have like their entire trunks. I mean, to this day, our buyers agents, they have their trunks full of open house signs all the time because it's too inconvenient for them to even take it out of the trunk because they're doing it every weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the level that open houses actually work. There's a guy, forget his name. He's a Tom Ferry client. He's the #1 agent in Silicon Valley. He's the one who actually, Andy C, I believe. Andy She or Andy C. He actually made me understand the value behind open houses because he told me, and this is a $1 billion producer, right? He told me that open houses for him, and this was, by the way, when he already had 120 people on his team. He told me that he would, even if he was vacationing in a different country, he would fly back on Saturday, Sunday to do his open house and then fly back to his vacation destination. When I heard that from Andy, I had to figure out what the whole hype behind open houses were. And then it was just a wormhole that I went down in, right? And I'm so glad that I did because it's always paid off. Like open houses are literally one of the highest leverage activities. And I'll say it over and over again. Especially if you don't have a whole lot of capital to invest on paid leads, open houses are amazing. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about, and this is probably one of the most important things of you even investing your time into open houses, is tracking. Okay. If you're not tracking, you know, like you need to make sure that you have a system in place for every single person coming through those doors, right? So name, phone, and email is the three pieces of information you need to consider a lead. Okay. If you have the name and a phone number, it's not a lead. It's just a contact. If you have a name and email, it's not a lead. It's just a contact. The definition of a lead is when you have those three sets of information and you have an implied interest in purchasing, buying, selling, investing, or referring in real estate. That's what a lead is. Okay. So if you don't have that information, you just have a contact. There's nothing wrong with having a contact, but you know, if you're in that moment where you're collecting information, you may as well get all of it, right? And what works really well for us is having either a sheet printed out, or now we just use landing pages. And we just typically, you know, that it's not even, we don't even ask, you know, we just turn the tablet towards them. It's like, it's just part of the open house. You just kind of just do it, right? So tracking is going to be a massive thing, because otherwise all of your efforts in that open house, like, why did you do it in the first place if you're not tracking the leads? Now those were strategies that would work really well when it's your listing, right? You're doing these open houses for your own listing. When you don't have listings and you're trying to do open houses as a hosting agent for other listing agents, what's very important is you study the listing, okay, inside out. Figure out what the flaws are, figure out what it's all about, figure out do comps, do CMAs, canvas the neighborhood a day prior, drive around, figure out what the community is all about, what the nearby schools are, you know, parks, transit score, all those things about that listing you need to know by heart, because otherwise, you know, you're not qualified to even host the open house. So that's number one. Number two is you have to be careful when you're a hosting agent for another listing agent, because a lot of the autonomy that you have when it's your own listing, you know, like inviting neighbors or door knocking the neighborhood, all these type of things, you know, you got to clear that with the listing agent, because they might have some sort of an agreement with their seller that XYZ type of marketing is not something that they are comfortable with, or whatever the case might be. So it's always better to just have your ducks in a row and have that conversation in the beginning. Okay. Ideally, all the steps that you would do for your own listing, you would want to also do for when you're hosting an open house, right? When you're a hosting agent, because again, the whole idea is to generate as many leads as possible, but just have an open conversation and communication with the listing agent. And then lastly, when you're a hosting agent, it's also very important to set expectations from the get-go, okay? If I'm doing this open house for you, Mr. Listing or Mrs. Listing agent, do you have expectations around splits, right? Do you not have expectations around splits? Do I owe you referrals if I end up converting a lead from this open house that's your listing, right? These conversations need to be had in advance, because then you just run into surprises, and you know, you just want to make sure that you know what you're walking into. Okay. So have that conversation in the beginning. And last but not least, and then we can open it up to questions, is gain insight and feedback from the list of contacts that you've procured about that listing. Okay. What did you like? What did you dislike? Anything that really stuck out for you? What's one thing that's extremely important to you in a home? Are you from the neighborhood? Those type of questions, right? Like, get to know the people, but also ask feedback on the listing. Because if you're a listing agent, that feedback is critical for you to then be able to go to the seller if it doesn't sell and go, hey, listen, there's no landscaping done, so it was difficult. There were shrubs and stuff, and people had a difficult time, right? Or the curb appeal wasn't there because you didn't do landscaping, or like there was a distinct smell in the cat litter room, for example, that we need to take care of the next time. Or they found that the bedrooms were too small. Like any and all feedback, you need to gain insight on it for two reasons. Number one, if it's your listing, you got to be able to then talk to the seller so you can make appropriate adjustments to be able to sell the property. Number two, it gives you insight on what the potential lead/client likes versus dislikes. So then you get to know a little bit more about them, and you can open the conversation very nicely, because all you're doing is you're calling them and asking for feedback. There's nothing wrong about that. You're not trying to hard close them or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for open houses, guys. Do we want to, Ashton, open it up to questions if anyone has questions?
Anyone with any question? I think there are a lot of gold for this. One of the few things that is
Ashton, I think you're a bit choppy. I don't know if it's because maybe it's recording or you're a bit choppy on your end.
I don't know
Is
how
that just me, guys, or
to change my. Usually I yes is so I am. So I ask questions if you have any.
Yes, it's cutting off.
well, as Ashton figures that out, guys, that's pretty much everything that I've done in my entire career around open houses. And that's just what my team does on a regular basis around open houses. Do you guys have any feedback, any questions, any insights on maybe what we could be doing better?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. I'm Michelle. Regarding you doing an open house for another person's listing, how would it work? Because I never even thought of this. Like, if I get leads coming in, I'm doing an open house for someone, I get leads coming in, I automatically assume those are my leads.
Yeah,
So,
that's different agents operate differently.
yeah,
So some agents have expectations around certain splits.
I never knew that. I didn't even think to even never ask that. So that's interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it
You
just
never know what can
strengthens your
arise, right?
relationship,
Mm-hmm.
is what I find. Because some people, it's like some people just assume that the other
Yeah.
party knows or doesn't know, right? So
Mhm.
just crystal clear communication is just always the best way to go about it. It's like over communication is never going to hurt you, but under communication might potentially hurt you.
Mhm.
So it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Great question though.
Because when you
But
think about it, like if another agent wants the leads, like what am I there for? Oh, like to work for
Yeah.
free? You know what I mean?
yeah. I know when I was doing open houses earlier in my career a lot, that's one of the first questions I would ask, is because a lot of the agents I found had 25%, 35% expectation as a rebate,
Mhm.
as a referral back if I, for example, ended up closing a buyer out of
Mhm.
an open house. And listen, I understand to a certain degree, because if they were to do their own open houses, maybe they were able to convert those leads themselves. But again, you're buying time back by me doing you a favor. And so my expectations typically are to, well, I mean, I made exceptions in the beginning because I was trying to get everything that I could. Eventually, as the sales volume went up and experience increased, I had very clear expectations that if myself or anyone on my team does open houses as a hosting agent,
Mhm.
that we have exclusive rights to those leads that are coming in. So it's all about communication and setting expectations, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Great question, Michelle. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, there you go, Ashton. You're back. No more choppiness. It's perfect.
Oh, great. No, I was saying that your few golden nuggets I got here is talking to your neighbors. And the whole idea here is for knocking It's not only inviting,
No, I didn't speak in.
but also get the leads as well. So one of the things I do, if you don't mind sharing it with you, is when you go to your open house or when you're knocking at doors, instead of giving people the open house typical MLS printed sheet, what I do, I copy half of the sheet here, and then the rest I put QR codes. Each of these QR codes are connected to different things that would entice them to get into the next level. And I put a lot of lead magnet in there, and I would get their email. So if they're not home, I'll roll my invitation for open house at their door. So when they come back later on, they can see that there is open house going on tomorrow at certain time. Also, if they are thinking of investing in real estate, buying, selling, there's a QR code. They take a picture, immediately they go inside, and I put a teaser there. 3 traps when you buying your house that you should watch. Those kind of lead magnet, and that helps. Recently, what I also do, I would create one of those QR code that would lead them to a video, a quick video. Listen, guys, tomorrow at between 2 to 4 o'clock, I have an open house. It's a beautiful house. Don't go too far, like 15 seconds. Always entice them to get into the next level where you can capture their email without seeing them. So that's extra layer of prospecting for you.
That's amazing. And that's one of the things that I noticed about you, Ashton, from the beginning is you're very methodological when it comes to just mapping out all the possibilities, all the probabilities, right? And it just really reminds me of, a failure to plan is a plan to fail, right? Because if you're going to invest your time in weekends away from your family, your loved ones, from the sun, there's nice weather out in Toronto today, and you're going to be doing open houses, you may as well do it the right way. You may as well call Ashton and be like, hey, can you show me how you did your lead magnet through that video? I mean, it's not rocket science, right? Like you record a Loom or BombBomb video, whatever the case might be, and boom. Now you have a personalized message that's repeatable, scalable, duplicatable, right? Because now you don't need to individually say those things to an individual party. It just gets blasted. And that's the beauty about the world that we live in, is when you leverage, and it's funny because I was talking to one of my sales guys about leverage, right? Because we're trying to tap into all these different niches from a B2B consulting standpoint. And at the end of the day, time is never going to stop for us, right? So we need to recognize that we only have so many hours within a given day. And so because we can't add more hours, we only have one avenue to consider, which is leverage. And leverage in today's day and age is technology, automation, AI, and just playing around with things to make sure that you're duplicatable, right? Duplicatability comes in other formats too, which is, an inside sales team, outside sales team. We can get into that whole, it's a whole complete different conversation. But, that's one of my things for this group of phenomenal individuals, is to really challenge yourself to figure out, how can I do this so it's systemized? Okay, so it's three things to always remember when you're implementing something new, or copy pasting from someone who's doing it at a high level like Ashton. Is this scalable? Is this duplicatable? Is this repeatable? All three of those things need to check out when you're implementing a strategy and when you're putting your time into something. Okay, so I know I went off on a bit of a tangent, but yeah.
Any other questions? So, Sami, can you put your email address or your information if you want someone to contact you on the chat? I just put
Absolutely.
So if you are interested to get more videos or more of what you have to do in terms of prospecting, etc., with me, you can email me your link, and I can gladly send you some of those videos. They are all in my YouTube channel. And Sami, if you don't mind, get your information, your phone number or email. So
Yeah, I just I posted it into the chat,
Alright.
and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly pull it up on the screen here as well.
इंद्र देवता की जय हो.
I did post it in the chat.
Hello?
Email address, all that kind of stuff, phone number. Yeah. Sorry, is someone trying to ask a question, or I heard someone speak? Yes, no?
No, that's fine. So if anyone needs some of these things like the video on QR, I created a video last week. It's called 10x prospecting with video. You can go and check it. If you don't have the link, just simply send me an email, deltaland123@gmail.com, or you can always call me, 647-407-4049. And if you have any questions with Sami, let him know. Sami, it was a pleasure having you here today. I
Oh,
really
this is fun, man. This is so much fun. I would love to come back anytime that you would want me to come back. I'd be more than happy. And if anyone wants to reach out to me personally, like I mentioned, I put my contact information in the chat. I have a 778 area code, a little bit different for you GTA folks. So it's 778-222-4967 is my phone number, my cell number. You can reach me at sami@ahmadassociates.ca. As long as I'm free, call me. I love masterminding. I love just sharing insights of what I'm learning from other people. I love talking to other real estate agents because everyone has their own set of experiences and things that they're noticing in the market. If you want to mastermind, just introduce yourself or get together for a coffee, whatever it is. Just shoot me a text, give me a call. I'd be more than happy to get together.
Excellent, amazing. There's no more question. I would finish it right now. Let me just go through everything's fine. So Sami, thank you very much for joining us. And that was the end of our webinar for today. All the best and hope to see everyone soon.